Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book 4, Season 4, Episode 2. And we haven't even rolled like the main credits and stepped into the book. Well, don't worry, it's getting there, but a lot of people wanted to know what these guys were doing after the last episode of like in their downtime. So we've prepared some cutscenes and, you know, maybe a little side mission to cover because you remember between New Hope and Empire, there was, you kind of got the idea that Luke and Han and Leia had come a long way. And then between like Empire and Jedi, Luke especially had like, you know, come a long way, and they were hunting down Han Solo. Like in the books here, they want you to do that. They want you to take a break, give the players a couple months to like re-gear, resuit, rethink, explore themselves. Well, now we've got a mercenary with brand new power armor. We've got a noble who has discovered that he may be force sensitive. We have a Padawan who's decided no longer to be in hiding. Okay, well, he's in hiding, but he may have gained a master if he can ever wake her up. We have a doctor who is now dabbling in ship upgrades, weapon upgrades, still studying xenobiology and reproduction. And like they're just maxing out Dr. Leth with like everything he can. He's rise to the task. A droid that will never gain levels, R4, because they keep mind wiping him. TP, a droid that's never supposed to leave the ship because it's way too powerful. I don't know why I ever let you buy that thing. A cyborg that's in some kind of recovery.
Capitalism.
The first thing I would like to talk about or announce in this new episode is something pretty cool in the fact that as a couple of weeks go by, you guys learn that Captain Serena O'Keefe is going to leave us. She has decided that smuggling is going to be a little bit more lucrative than being a freebooter, than running around, you know, being under our thumb, being our taxi, and the risks that are starting to build after seeing the Austidius and playing you guys that message that we're on board, you know, type of thing. She does what Han Solo was going to do: cash out. I have other plans. I need to go pay off my bounty. I'm out. See you around, guys, type of thing. So the Banshee is going to be leaving us. Serena O'Keefe in this book leaves, which I think is neat because they gave her to you guys in the story to have a ship, and now you guys by this time are supposed to have one. We got one early, and they write her out. But she's not alone. Now, we talked about a little tryst between her, the possibility implied of a little tryst between her and Dr. Leth, but nothing came of that. The man's too focused on his work. But as weeks became time together and we're stuck on the Resurgence while both ships are docked, or, you know, there's some back and forth, and everyone's doing little clicks. People are working with Merrick on his armor. The crew is all working on the ship, and there's back and forth. There's all this downtime. That pressure of being hunted, of being on a mission is off, and people can relax, get to know each other better. And we find that Old Man Zinn has decided to go with her. A conversation which sparked a friendship, which sparked them talking about how well they worked together during that space combat, which possibly could lead to more.
Those sticky pad notes really do come in handy.
She was impressed with that system. You know.
Yeah.
She was. Crash was, at least. The pilot that's bolted to the thing, you know. Oh, the sticky notes, I love this, you know, type of thing. It's like it's right there in real space and not just in my mind, you know. So Old Man Zinn and O'Keefe are gonna jet off for the time being and are leaving our mission in Inner Circle. We have not heard from Vabesh or Ramagilligar, and things do begin to progress with the tech upgrades, you know, personal relationships. Particularly, rumors begin to circle about Master Dena being, you know, an actual Jedi Master. She doesn't hide it. And though she's been given VIP treatment and held away to like recover, as the weeks roll by, she's making more of appearances. She's out of the hospital wing more. She's out of her room more. She doesn't just hang out on the bridge being imposing, offering wisdom to the captain. She's wandering around more and more, that kind of thing. So I'm curious if, I haven't said she has, but if, Poser, she accepts to be your master, did you want to, like, obviously our training is in secret and private, but you know, do you have any request about not letting anyone know? Or
I mean, it's one of those at this point, them not knowing is probably going to be a bigger hindrance than them knowing. Because I'm not worried about them turning me in at this point. You know, because that was the biggest worry. You know, between Zin being a bounty hunter and, you know, Rahaul seeing everything as credits and, you know, Merrick following whatever he says, I figured it'd end up being a fight. But at this point, you know, I trust him with my life. And, you know, I think it goes both ways. So, you know, I feel like at some point I would have sat down with the crew, you know, and told them prior to, you know, me starting to work with Dena, you know, on a full scale.
okay, so let's flash back.
So I would have petitioned her first. If she accepted, then I would have sat down with the crew and talked to them.
Okay, so you petition her, and haha, you know, she was sleeping.
Oh yeah, which is hilarious, you know, for the heavy metal guitarist. So yeah, I immediately cranked that up to 11 and just started strumming away to wake her up if she's gonna fall asleep on me.
That took you long enough. So, what have we learned, Dorothy? Oh, probably never saw that movie. Was never really released outside of Elderon. So, you're here. Do you know why you're here? I sense a lot of guilt in you, young one. And guilt leads to fear, which leads to anger. You know the drill. I sense a lot of guilt, a lot of apprehension in you. So, if you're going to ask me what I think you're going to ask me, you got to be all in. Now, we don't have to parade you around the holodeck. I have private quarters. I have some, you know, pull with the captain. You know, it's not like the entire crew needs to know. But if you're going to start spending time with me, you need to make a decision. Are you going to be with me? Are you going to be with those losers on the turtle ship that are under Senator Organa's every whim? Because there's the captain following the Senator's ideals, and then there's me. Now, Senator Organa has graciously explained the situation to me here, and I want to give its aid. I think you and your crew have done a good job, a decent job up until now, and so I'm going to lend a hand as an advisor, as someone that can throw the weight around on this ship. So I want to know where you stand. Are you with me on this? Are you with them? Are you a senator's lackey? Or do you want to rejoin the order and start thinking about, although we're still going to have to be in hiding, thinking about the future, your future?
I think, why does it have to be one or the other? I can work under you and be truly a part of the order, but I feel one of the reasons why the order fell is because they were too busy standing around and giving advice instead of taking action.
That's what I'm talking about. Direct action, training, young one, focused training. You and me, not you doing 8 hours working on that ship and another 10 hours working on your guitar and your music and another God was out and being at their beck and call. I'm talking about being with me, training with me full time until you're ready, however long that's going to take. Can you commit to that?
Yes, I can.
All right. Then your training starts now. Come in. Door opens. A very familiar looking pinstripe suit.
What is you guys doing down here?
She just rolls her eyes and looks at Poser like, go ahead, Poser, you take this.
Well, I was petitioning Master Dena for me to be her Padawan, to learn under her.
Oh, I think you're past the point of Padawan, young man. You're well on your way to being a proper Jedi. Right under somebody's nose, I might add.
Who, you looking at me? What do I know about this stuff?
What do you know? What do I know? I sensed your presence 3 parsecs out. Your gut, as you like to call it. You worry about your friends, your feelings. Oh, the feelings. All those women. All that money you owe. All the debt. All that... Your friends, as you like to call
I'm
them.
a sensitive guy. I got feelings.
You got...
What's the matter with that?
You got baggage. Anyway, she says. And then she looks... A very knowing look over at Poser like, yeah, I'm meaning what I say. She's implying that, there's a little bit more to Rahaul here. You were saying, young one, and she waves you to, like, continue your confession / whatever you want.
So, if you haven't deduced it at this point, and I do want to sit down with you and the crew proper and explain it all to you, but I am a Jedi.
Not yet. But you're not a Padawan either.
I am in touch and in tune with the Force. And I have at least slight reason to believe, especially now after Master has also said this, that you possibly are in touch with the Force as well. And that's very dangerous if you're unaware.
I ain't got no idea what you're talking about. Listen, sometimes I follow my gut, and usually when I do, it leads me in the right direction.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Oberus. Who is your father? Who's your mother? Do you call your mother? I bet you don't call your mother enough.
I don't talk to any of them. I don't even know if they's alive right now. Probably not after what went down where we're from.
Did they ever have any contact with the council?
I'm gonna say no to that.
Let me ask you a very...
They was pretty good friends with Count Dooku.
She waves a hand and makes the door close. And the lights dim a little bit. She takes a step forward. She says, I'm going to ask you some personal questions. I hope you don't mind, but this is a very serious matter. Are you adopted, Mr. Oberus?
Not that I'm aware of. Though sometimes I wish I was.
Do you ever have any latent early memories of childhood around the age of 0 to 5 where you felt you were possibly with another family, taken, and then for whatever reason put back with another family?
Well, don't get me wrong. I've always been out of place with my family. For as long as I can remember. I mean, everything was great. Basically up until kindergarten. Yeah, now that you mention it. That's a pretty apt description. Can't say I really put 2 and 2 together about it, though. What is you implying?
Oh. The Force is in you. And if I could reach out to the council and find some records on your family, who your real family is, we could find out if you were ever selected for proper training as a Padawan and rejected. Now, I think you're too old, says the vulnerable old woman. I think it might be a little bit too late for you, says the pessimistic old woman. And if I'm going to give this young man a second chance, your presence, your influence, and the fact that you'll have these gut feelings, I think of mixing them up and putting them out of sorts. So, after the two of you have a talk with your friends, I would like you to be prepared to cut ties with Poser for the time being, while I evaluate his future. He has already consented to taking me as his master and beginning his training anew. Very focused training, possibly not on the ship at all times. And I can't have your crew his workload, and especially someone with, shall we say, less than Force-sensitive ideals influencing the young man. Now, I don't mean to speak ill of you and your crew. You've done a fine job. You've impressed the senator. But you must understand, these powers that we wield, that young Poser has and has managed to keep, shall we say, under wraps, though I doubt he's disdained from using them. He must have the most difficult time ahead to pick up his training again under a different master after everything that's happened, after his own faltering without a master's guidance may have led him astray, plus your own influence, even subconsciously, could have made a mess of this cone head. There's a lot in there. He's got twice the brain and the guts the rest of you. So I'm asking politely that whatever business him and I get in, you stay out of it.
Listen, lady, this guy's part of my crew. So, no offense, but if that's gonna happen, I gotta hear it from him. What say you, Poser? Are you ditching us for this old broad?
For the time being, yes. Because it's more imperative at this point that I finish my training.
Well, hey, kid, you do you. I ain't gonna stand in the way of that. But you and me, lady, our business ain't finished here. I got more questions for you.
I see.
Oh, and one more thing, Poser. If you ain't gonna be there to lend a hand, you're off the payroll.
That's fine with me.
Fair enough. Crazy kid. Walks out mumbling under his breath.
Okay. You did pretty good. Not great. I expected all the time and tears and blaster bolts and everything you've been through. You've formed quite an attachment to these mercenaries. But attachments in the Jedi Order have been shunned upon. But like you said, that order's fallen. So we may have to take an older approach. My master's roommate's second cousin's master's approach. One master, one Jedi apprentice against, and she just kind of sweeps the view of the panoramic observation deck. You think you're up for that?
I don't think I have much of a choice, especially if I want this to continue.
All right, then. Well, like they say, I ain't getting any younger. There's no time like the present. Let's begin. And with that, the scene fades out as she steps forward and looks like she's rubbing his cone head or something, or just kind of picking something out of his hair, like, some fussing old lady. The scene follows Rahaul Oberus mumbling. A few moments later, he's managed to reach his own personal quarters. He's mumbling, he's muted. He's still muted and mumbling.
Yeah, it was just so low and inaudible.
Just looked like a good rant, though.
Stupid Jedi. Yeah. Ancient archaic ways. Kids turning his back on real legit profit. You ain't got no future in that. Mumble, mumble.
So how do you feel that you've had a Jedi with powers or a Padawan under your nose? Like, even a Padawan is worth like 10 men. Poser's been holding out on you, dude. Or has he?
He was smart to keep himself hidden from me. And I got to give the kid props for that. I would have sold him in a second had I known in the early days. But at this point, he's had my back. I've had his back. We've betrayed each other. It's complicated, but it's like family.
Okay. So you've become rather fond of the young man. Will they really do it?
Like I sell you last.
Yeah. Yeah, as fond as Rahaul could possibly get to anyone, right?
Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's always a contingency plan.
Okay.
But in selling him, I'd risk outing myself, and I ain't at that point yet. She said I was pinging off like a beacon. I gotta find out about that.
Okay. So
Because as much as Rahaul likes to be flashy, he doesn't like to be flashy
okay.
to people he doesn't want to be flashy to.
Days go by, the work on the ship progresses, and you find Poser notably absent, which slows down said progress. Now, you still got several guys plus mechanics and stuff. The ship moves position several times. Dena, and before O'Keefe left, and the captain, like, everyone seems to be in a meeting. I guess they're planning their next move, right? Now, you're waiting to get paid out, right? The money you got wasn't from the senator. It was from the actual, dividends and such of your own separatist actions, your family, your other businesses, the flavor reasons behind your noble financial talent have come through the holonet, and you've spent that money wisely, promptly, foolishly, fun, all kinds of stuff.
However I wanted to.
However you wanted to. DM approval pending. So, that said, a couple days go by and you cool off, but you don't see a lot of Poser. But you do see Dena. You always catch her like at the end of a hallway talking to someone, sees you, and she just sort of slowly walks around a corner. And if you want to talk to her and you go stride and catch up, look around a corner, she's gone.
Sneaky old Brad.
And this keeps happening. Until one fine day, you decide to go back to the scene of the crime, and she's alone up in the observation deck. You find her up there. This time she's not sleeping. You can actually see her, perk away up, head slightly, her head slightly turns over her shoulder as you come in.
You see that? That right there. This is exactly why I've been trying to get a hold of you. Listen, lady, you said you heard me 3 parsecs away. What you talking about?
Her shoulders slump slowly in a sigh. She says, "Come and join me. Cop a squat.
Papa, what?
Sit down, young man.
Oh. When did you say that in the first place?
Pull up a cushion.
Pulls up a cushion.
And take off that ridiculous hat."
Pops it off.
Okay. Your hat's off. You're no longer captain of the Archelon, partner with Dr. Leth. You're no longer employer, boss man to Merrick the Mercenary. You're no longer friend to a bunch of hooligans who are doing the dirty work, the black ops wet work for Senator who's trying to hold the universe together, or at least this end of the galaxy. It's just you, Oberus. Just you and me. Right?
All right.
I want you to close your eyes and concentrate. I want you to focus on this feeling, the memory of this feeling that you get whenever you convince yourself that your gut told you something. Can you remember several instances where you came out on top, were warned of danger, or got away with something that physically might have been impossible because you felt your gut leaded you?
More times than I can count.
So pick on one of the remarkable ones. You don't have to tell me about it. Just think about it. Play the moment over in your mind.
Rahaul thinks back to a time not too long ago when he was sitting at a card table in Bestman. He was given the opportunity to take his chips and go, or stay in and fight for the pot. And his gut was screaming at him to run. So he took his chips and ran.
But then?
Well, I mean, chaos ensued, but some real good came of it.
Okay.
One dead hut. Bunch of weird bow tie ships getting shot out of the sky.
Okay.
Got some new sweet starfighters to add to my armada.
All right. So there's picture Rahaul Oberus How are you sitting on this cushion or ottoman? Are you like sitting on the floor? Have you got like the knees one way and the legs girly tucked under your bummy? Are you sitting cross-legged, or are you just kind of squatting down?
So kind of cross-legged, but half cross-legged. So one leg is in the cross-legged position, but the other one is up with his foot on the ground and his knee.
Oh yeah, okay,
in the air,
yeah, I got you.
And he's bouncing it.
Yeah, I got you. You got your eyes closed, and he's sitting there looking kind of constipated. Meanwhile, Dena picks up on this feeling and slowly closes her eyes and attunes herself to the Force. Yeah, that's it. Right there. And it hits you like a college-made brownie. Like a reservation gummy. Like this shit kicks in.
Okay.
And she goes, now go back before. What do you remember before the feeling? What do you remember? What were you doing? You know, you're focused on the cards or what, play it in your mind. I want you to reach out. Don't think about what was in front of you. You were so focused on those cards. But what was going on around you? What do you remember?
Right. So, what was around me? Well, I was kind of keeping my eye on that Imperial guy. I was also paying attention to my friend, who I was definitely not trying to rig the game with. Pardon me. You know, and there was my ex was she was sitting in on the table. She looked a little nervous. She was just about to play a big hand, and behind me, behind that weird planner thing, the behind the divider there, Poser was, you know, doing his usual Poser thing, keeping an eye on my back. Yeah, that pretty much spells it out.
So tell me, what made you so certain Poser was there? If you were so focused on your cards, if you were so focused on the people around you, you said he was behind you, near a doorway, behind a planter, several feet away, maybe anywhere from 10 to 30 feet, I would guess. How'd you know he was there?
Poser? I always know where Poser is.
I want you to think about Poser. Concentrate on that feeling of how you know where he is.
Kind of lock in on it.
Okay. Now, not with your brain, but with your gut. I want you to tell me where Poser is right now.
Psst, psst, Poser, where are you?
hang on. Give me a force check. Let's sense the get some ping going here.
All right. I can do that now. And it's actually quite powerful.
Poser,
Use
oh
the
my god.
force.
The
35.
Austidius is here, an unknown presence to you that should be, it's cloaking itself as familiar, is like way too powerful to be Rahaul. Just goes, ping. Did you cloak up?
Oh, absolutely. Because
It's like a
it's
sound.
either something bad or it's Master Dena testing me.
Yeah.
It's one of the two.
Okay.
So either way, I cloak up.
All right. Let's have it.
Ooh.
Fail. Okay. So you like...
Nah, you don't.
35 beats is 22. So, can you don't nail it, Poser, but could you vaguely give Rahaul a sense of where you are on the ship and what you're doing? Or sorry, actually, I'll ask the questions as her. So, where are you? What does he sense?
Yeah, if you give me the option to declare it, I'm going to be like, he's in the refresher piping out a hot one.
They'll come out cone-shaped. I don't know why.
Oh.
If you're not training
All
with Dena, what are you doing?
Probably back in my private quarters, either, you know, self-meditating, self-training, or working on my guitar.
Okay.
You know, either playing it or just working on it.
Okay.
So.
So you get a sense of where he is in his room. And she's like, and what's he doing?
Doing what he's usually doing, thinking away on his guitar.
And what makes you so sure? Can I have another use the force from Rahaul?
Sure. $27.
For some reason, he's attuned to this guitar. It resonates with a presence like Poser. You don't sense Poser, you sense Poser and Poser's guitar. Like it has its own presence.
Yeah, I mean, I like his music. The kid's talented, I gotta say it. But, you know, sometimes I've always wondered if it wasn't the instrument that made the man.
Now, I want you to forget about Posa. I want you to reach out around the ship and tell me anyone else that you think you know where they are and what they're doing. Start with people that you know personally, you have a relationship with, and work out from there. So now it becomes a montage of use the force rolls where he starts trying to...
Ping,
the closer...
ping.
Well, the more you know someone, you have an attachment to them and you could probably sense them easier too, right? But she's testing you to see if you could just blatantly lose the force to, like, Captain... You know, the Captain. How well you know him, kinda, you know. Or that guy with the clipboard that never talks, that gives you all that stuff. You know, like,
Your first wife.
yeah, her first one, yeah. She just starts going through this list. Right?
Okay,
Okay.
I'll ping away.
No, it's a lot of rolls, and like I said, if you play the odds,
Yeah.
it'll even out, right? So anyway, she has you do a lot of people. And then in her judgment, you have the gift. The metachlorians are in you. I'll give you that. But this is the type of thing that you need to be trained as a child, Oberys. This is the kind of thing that can do so much more. And she...
Lady, I ain't no one-trick pony. If a kid can do it, I can do it. Come on.
What you've done so far is what's probably learned in a Padawan's first year. Part of the basics. And I've noticed you're struggling with anything that's off the ship or that you haven't had personal contact with. The Force is an energy field that's everywhere. It's in your purse. It's in your weed. It's in the toilet. It's everywhere. There's no escaping it. It's in your hair. It's in your brain. It's in your blood. And if you can't connect to the Force being everywhere, part of all things, and sense those things, then I'm afraid there's not much I can and should safely do with you. I'm sorry. Anyway, and she... time to move. You know, I've been sitting too long, and she gets up and just kind of, like, that's it. You know, you did okay, but the lesson ends, and so does your chances. And she just kind of brushes herself off and says, well, I'll see ya.
As she's walking away. Seriously, like, how could you tell where I was from so far away? How can I hide from that? Come on! Stubborn Brad. I know what to do. And then, you know, goes to his Rahaul scheming. The dice start rolling.
Okay. More time goes by. The ship progresses. Okay. And we have Dena visiting Poser in his personal chambers. She doesn't knock. She just waits outside the door until you can sense her.
Okay. You want me to make those rolls?
Yep.
Alrighty. 33.
Took you long enough. Now, to your credit, kid, she steps into the room. It's good that you're in tuned with objects and not just people. Though I sense that guitar is special, has special meaning, and she kind of half closes an eye and her face goes limp like she's having a stroke, and then it snaps back into normal position. Something very special about that guitar. But as much as that can be a boon, for you personally, it could hold you back. And because you're so attached to it, I waited outside that door for quite a while. No, I don't mean your door. I mean, and she talks about like, I waited 3 decks down to see if she could feel it. You were sensing her. Nope. And then she got closer and waited, then closer, and like these stages, and it's like you're so focused on the shit you're doing, you're blinding yourself to your surroundings. It's good to be focused, but you know, the force is everywhere, and you can't ignore the signs outside your, shall we say, peripheral. Anyway, and then she gets into, you know, a lesson with you, and time goes by, and then Rahaul's, you have a chance at part one of your plan there, Rahaul?
So I'll you know, kind of not stalk her, but you know, wait until I can make sure it's just her and I walking down the corridor to whatever location.
Okay. Well, like I said,
you know,
initially she was avoiding you.
Yep. And I'll try to be polite. You know, sometimes you get more flies with honey.
Okay, so you ambush her.
Not so much, you know, casually. Oh, Master Dena.
Okay, catch her on the turbo lift. You just happen to be there when, you know, she's starting her morning stride. You know, she's on her way.
Well, I got you here. Listen, I was just wondering. Maybe you could spare some time for me. I noticed you've been spending a lot of time with the kid. He seems to be, I don't know, blooming. But maybe you could spare a little time, just a bit of time. I'm not asking you to go all in. You don't need to train me. Just you gotta show me how I can hide. Because I don't like this people knowing where I am from 3 parsecs away. This doesn't do good for my endeavors.
You want to,
if you know what I'm saying.
You want to know how to hide?
Yeah.
She steps
That's
off.
what I said.
She steps off the turbo lift. She says, "Stay on this lift." And she waves her hands, and the doors jam, and you're stuck there for hours.
You've got to be kidding.
No, I am not. Meanwhile, Poser's training progresses a bit more. Poser, you're going through the hoops and the training. I mean, a lot of people have seen this kind of stuff. But again, there's the guitar and its contents. And she's urged you to, like, you know, having a certain, like, no, have we ever revealed exactly what's in that guitar?
I know we've hinted at it, and I know you and I have discussed it.
Okay, so
I think it might have been discussed, but I don't know if it's been discussed on air.
So let's get all up in your head and talk about, you know, what you're feeling about, you know, the guitar, because she's asking you to disassemble it and get rid of a vital component. Maybe the guitar itself and your music, which represents, you know, your alternate ego and the hiding, or the very special contents within. I'll get you to talk about it.
Well, you know, especially after that lesson, you know, her mentioning the fact that she was waiting for me to censor 3 decks down, and I should have been able to at this point in my training, you know, and all the, you know, indications of guilt and whatnot. And that's been a recurring thing that pretty much anyone who's in touch with the Force and has been in contact with me since, you know, that night, you know, that day, that is noticed is the guilt. And, you know, that, and I've been holding on and too attached to my master, you know.
And why is that?
And
he's dead. He's gone. Why are you holding on to him? Where's the guilt come from?
Well, the guilt is coming from him giving me his saber.
Oh, you blame yourself for his death because if he kept his saber, perhaps he would still be alive?
I mean, originally, yeah. At this point, it's more of, I don't know why I hold on to it anymore. It's kind of a relic of the past, I guess.
What do you think Dena's doing? Do you think it's cruel that, like, she's asking you to give up an attachment to something that's very important to you?
It's not cruel, and that's never been, you know, the Jedi's mindset. It's cold, not cruel. You know, it's about balance in the Force. And if you have personal attachments, if you're too dedicated to one thing, you can't possibly be objective when observing it and handling it.
That leads you into passion. That leads you into a different side of the Force.
Yes, where emotions drive your powers. And that's not good. It can be very dangerous, especially in these times. You know, with so much negative emotion going on throughout the galaxy, it's more important than ever to make sure that my emotions are in check. You know, and I did that prior by just masking everything and just suppressing them all. But I still had them. I was still feeling guilty. I was still attached. I became attached to these mercenaries I've been working with who, honestly, they would have sold me out at the first chance they got if they knew who I was.
You were a sullen little dude at the beginning, but like they never treated you badly. They never called you on all your moodiness or anything. They just let you be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was very much appreciated. But, I think when Rahaul kind of left me for dead, in the gladiatorial arena, that's when it kind of hit me of...
Was it a calculated wager? You're here with us now. I thought we moved past this.
In my head.
Now that he sought you out with the Force, he can interrupt anytime he wants, damn it, right?
Yes, that's fair.
Now we're attuned to each other, damn it, the old broads. Let you guys hash this out, right?
Yeah, so, that was kind of a cold slap to the face of, I'm still just, a pawn piece for this mercenary, for this old separatist arms dealer, his soldier, the doctor, and the bounty hunter, and the cyborg. We aren't attached, and so me trying to form attachments there is pointless and is only detrimental to me, and so it's kind of coming to terms and realizing all of that and realizing, these attachments are just going to do me more harm than good. If I can make a calculated move that will help a lot more people, but end up hurting one of them, I need to be able to make it. And no hesitation. That's the problem, is the hesitation. The lack of confidence. And all that just stems from those attachments. And so that's one of the things I need to work on. And, removing the crystal from my guitar is one of the best ways, because that's my only attachment to the old world, to a life that I still want, but I'm never going to get back.
While you literally, assuming you're removing the crystal from the guitar?
Yes.
You're literally holding it in your hands, and without a overdramatic cutscene of your master's wisdom or words, they don't come back to you. You can recall his face, you can recall his words, but this isn't a moment where you're all up in your head and the big cloud turns into Vader and Simon and he's like, Bozer, I'm okay, move on, that kind of nudge. There's just a feeling of reflection. Can I have the use force check, please?
Of course. 30.
He has attuned himself to Force Crystal to make it his lightsaber. And that echo of him that you've held close to your guitar and ironically close to your heart, as it were, has been like a comfort, like you said. Dena's saying it's a crutch for you. You can't move forward until you remove it so that you don't have that cushion, as it were. Studying the crystal, reaching out with his force, you feel guilt wash over you, and you realize that you've held on to this because you felt guilty, because you're attached to him, but put your own feelings into it. Not only is he attuned to it, you've subconsciously not attuned yourself to it, but filled it with your feelings and loss of your master. And this crystal is resonating loss and guilt. There's so much in it now that Dena's given you a different perspective and made you kind of go, maybe I don't need a teddy bear anymore, and you look at the old teddy bear and it's ripped and torn and kind of ragged, and it's full of great memories, but it's an ugly thing now. It's not a comfort anymore. You look at the crystal for what it is, and it's a bunch of balled up emotions that are reflecting back at you strongly like a mirror. And perhaps she's wise into telling you to ditch it. I mean, kyber crystals don't grow on trees. That could be a problem if you ever want to make your own saber. But it would never really be your saber, would it?
No. And tossing that many emotions into a crystal and then trying to repower it properly, that could end up with some devastatingly bad effects to that crystal.
So what do you want to do with it?
Bring it to her. I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Okay.
Like, I'm not aware of proper disposal procedures.
Okay.
I don't know if we just jet this out into space, like, because I
Give it
feel
to
like
Merrick. Have him make it into a bomb.
That is always a valid option.
Not negative force bomb, right?
But
I mean, if it's not a thing, it should be a thing.
Oh, it absolutely should be. But I feel like tossing it, just down the, this space,
vaping it,
toilet
yeah,
and flushing it is, disrespectful to the memory.
That's true. Okay.
But, I also shouldn't hold on to it. She would know what best to do with it.
Okay. You seek her out in her quarters, and she's not doing anything. She looks like she's actually waiting for you, because you find her back to the door, standing in the middle of the room. And you knock, and she tells you to enter, and the door opens, and she just nods slowly and turns over her shoulder and says, now finally you can take the first steps. I'm proud of you, young one. It takes a lot of moxie to admit that you don't need something when you think you do. Anyway, she turns around and she holds out a hand, and you step into the room, and when the door closes, she lifts it using the force from your hand and brings it towards herself, and then raises a second hand and closes her eyes. And then she takes a slow breath in. Let's picture it, Sicily. Picture it, Sicily. 1942. Starting 1942. And you don't see it, as opposed to sense that she forces an energy wave into the crystal and flushes through it. So it's like two hands have like this sort of like a, they show like sonic waves on like a, like a distortion of light, right? You don't see that, but you sense it. And she pumps it through the crystal, and it goes in two angles, crosses through itself, flushes it, and comes out and dissipates around you in the room. She doesn't use it as a focus to like shove this back at you, right?
Yeah.
But it's in your sort of breathing space. And again, you are overwhelmed with thoughts of your master, with guilt, with feeling. It brings you to your knees. It brings you to tears silently. It brings you closure. And slowly she lets the crystal drift back down to your hands. And she says, I need a minute. That took a lot. She sits down on the bed and she says, kind of waves you off like, the crystal has been cleansed. You can keep it for like the next generation. Like, just like you said, it's a shame to waste it. But
Yeah.
As in any good Force tradition, perhaps this clean crystal that has some of a history maybe shouldn't be owned by you or her, but kept to be passed on. And all this becomes perfectly clear with just sort of a, we're done. She sits down.
I'm gonna bow and back out of the room.
Okay. Waiting eagerly down the hallway. Rahaul. You track Poser. She's cloaked all the time, trying to avoid you, but Poser you can sense. And he leads you right to her. When they're done their business, about 20 minutes, she's alone. What do you do?
Rush down the hall.
Okay.
Set the flowers and the chocolates down with a little card.
Okay.
And on the card it says, I'm only asking for a couple minutes here. Hit the doorbell thingy and run away.
Okay.
And I'll head back to my quarters where Merrick's in there tinkering.
Okay. You're confident that she's awake and was just training Poser. I mean, you might maybe he was wiping a tear. You're not so sure, but yeah, that type of thing. Okay.
I was probably too focused on what I was doing. I was in sneak.
Completely unaware that she's out cold, and some time goes by, and a service droid comes and cleans up the hallway, and the chocolates and flowers are never make their attention.
Sweeps
Just gone.
Yeah.
But as far as you know, Plan A, mission accomplished.
Yeah. And head back to the quarters.
Okay.
To see Merrick. And because this was just part A of my grand plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hand him a set of blueprints. Hey, I know you're really busy with all your tinkering on your armor and helping on the ship and stuff, but
Yes.
if you could find some time to squeeze this into your schedule for me, I greatly appreciate it. And just hand him over a set of schematics.
These are scale drawings.
Hey, I ain't just a pretty face here. You should know by now that your buddy Rahaul's got some skills.
I don't doubt that. I just want to make sure I have units right.
Oh,
These-
it's all good.
I can do this. It will take time.
How much time you thinking, buddy?
1 week.
No problem. That's perfect. Thank you, my friend. And goes back to scheming.
Okay. A couple days go by, and a montage begins of young Jedis training in True, showing a scene of the two of them meditating together, their eyes closed, facing one each other, and sort of a mental battle going on, with him concentrating hard and her sort of going, oh yeah, that's the spot right there, that kind of thing. Then switching to her, like him actually giving her like a shoulder rub, like the shit work of being an apprentice, that kind of thing. Doing the corns on her feet and everything, and changing and doing her laundry and that type of thing. Turns into a real wax on, wax off, young Daniel-san stuff as she has him doing all kinds of stuff. Crawling through Jeffrey's tubes, and he's not allowed to like touch any wiring, and trying to maybe like float himself along using telekinesis type of thing. Having him going to the vents in the cafeteria and making people choose the Jell-O that no one wants because she hates it. Making sure everyone eats the stupid green Jell-O because she doesn't want to be served it, type of thing. Just mind-bending people. Like, this is some unorthodox, like I said, this is going way back to ancient Jedi training. Scenes like Poser standing in on some of the more important conversations that Dena has with the captain, and the captain accepting him as official apprentice, where he must observe and learn proper diplomacy. And this is where Poser struggles, because it was him and his master. He struggled, and there was that one-on-one. But I think we can agree that people isn't his strong point. So constantly turning to him and asking his advice or what he thinks, or be mindful, young Padawan. What kind of point do you think the captain is trying to make here? And he just freezes. He's like, I don't know, like that. Well, they weren't talking about the ship maintenance. They weren't talking about because they were talking about plans of future or just something mundane. And it's like, it's either so obvious. It's like, is this a test? It keeps freaking out in the moment, right? A lot of that kind of thing. Wrong, back to him cursing and crawling in the Jeffries tube, hitting wires and stuff. Now she's turned all the wires on. They're live. Ow, ow. Oh, it's like being back in the jungle kind of thing. A couple days go by. Rahaul, plan B.
Well, this time, Rahaul's going to wait until she's in the mess hall. He's managed to find a few of the crew members using his, social skills and knowledge of personalities that can play a mean Spanish guitar or Corellian guitar.
Or the best you can get is like a DJ that pops up the the alien nightclub stuff that you heard on Bestman. The Oh well, you work with what you got, right?
And do the whole full service on her with, full spread of her native world's like most finest fare. All right, so like set the scene. She comes in after a training session, sits down to get her meal, and as soon as she sits down, the lights immediately dim. The one DJ guy I found is plugging in some holographic things of some Corellian guitarists strumming, soft melodic tones on their multi-stringed instruments. And Rahaul comes in sweeping along. He's got a platter on his hand with the big silver dome, and comes up to her table, sets the platter down, reaches into his jacket, pulls out a couple candlesticks, lights them up, like really setting the mood. And he's like, Master Dena, just allow me to show my appreciation for the time that you've spent helping us in our endeavors here.
She seems intrigued and draws closer.
I hope you'll forgive me, but I looked into your background a bit, and I found from the world you're on, the rarest, most coveted food.
She looks confused, but draws even nearer, and you can't help but notice the tongue crossing the dry lips like, you're making her hungry. She does seem to appreciate, the time and board affair. Doesn't say anything, just gets a little closer.
Allow me to present to you gelato of algae. And he pulls the thing off. There's this green foamed jello structure just kind of quivering.
Gelato of algae.
Yeah.
Nice. I'd give you a force point, but she just storms out of there for obvious reasons, leaving you confused. She works Poser really hard that day. He intensifies his training, seeing all kinds of stuff, diplomacy. He's walking around with balancing a book on his head, holding his back straight, but on a cone head. It's freaking next to impossible. That's just freaking mean. You know what I'm talking about? Dena,
Yeah, that's funny.
Dena is
That's
asleep
good.
in a chair on the bridge, and not the captain, but the first mate is there, looking to Poser for advice, like he's a full-fledged Jedi, And it's like, the scanners, Jedi, have picked up some ships. It could be the supplies we asked for, but late. But this far away and in the same sector, but they could have been overrun by pirates, which made them late. If we hail our position, we'd be giving our position away, but need those much-needed supplies. Or we'd be advertising our position to pirates, and the ship would come under attack. Attack we may not be able to survive. What should we do? Like turning you without calling critical, because
Well, we should send out a scouting party. See if they can get by undetected and figure out whether they were assaulted by pirates or not.
okay. An hour later, we can't. We've lost contact with the scouting party, and the ships draw nearer. What should we do? Should we send out a rescue party for the scouting party? that was scouting the pirates or possibly our well-needed supplies? They've entered a nebula, so it might just actually be static interference. There possibly is no problem at all. But we can't be sure. What should we do?
Give me a minute, and I'll reach out with the force and see if I can detect, what's going on. If I can detect hostile intentions.
Okay.
31.
Okay. Suddenly,
The doors burst open. Rahaul comes flying in. Aha! Master Dena, I knew I'd find you. Listen, you've got to let me apologize for that last mistake. I couldn't have possibly known about your allergies. Please, accept this as my humblest apology, and I've got like some fine candies of some sort. And I just like set them on her lap and hustle back off the bridge.
okay, completely unaware she's asleep. Anyway, his big huge interruption and his presence have totally thrown off your force use, right? By the time he leaves and you can concentrate, there's this little tiny light implosion off in the nebula. Right, just kind of like a boom kind of thing. Like we took too long to make a decision, and the first mate's like looking at you like, I'm not gonna tell anybody if you don't tell anybody. Dino wakes up. Yeah, what's the type of thing. Anyway, she looks down at the chocolates and mistakes them for like bugs or whatever, because they weren't in a box, right? They're just laying on them like a little tray or whatever, right? Anyway, she freaks out, sends them flying, and stamps them all, like starts stamping on them. Space herpes, and starts just stamp them all out. And again, unfortunately,
She'd probably say that if I gave her chocolates anyways, coming from Rahaul. Ooh.
I don't know where these been. Wash these, vaporize them, and then
Space herpes. Oh.
So finally, Master Dena's training is taking its toll. Like, she is getting better, but she's supposed to be resting. And between like avoiding and constantly having force powers up to hide from Rahaul, who's tipped the iceberg of force powers, and trying to, get Poser on the right path or whatever, the woman's starting to get very tired. And in one particular scene, she, at the end of a long day, she took a day off, and hasn't tasked Poser with anything for a couple days. And he's going to come looking for her. She knows this, but she cloaks herself up and slips back to her room. And on the way back to her room, all the lights in the hallway suddenly go out. Now, she doesn't own a lightsaber because that was taken off her by the Hutts. So she reaches out with the Force to perceive in the darkness. And what is revealed?
Ping. So that schematic I handed Merrick?
Yep.
Yeah, so what I had him do was build me a small divan with a what's that, the turbo lift, or what was it called, the hovering repulsor lift. That's it. Yeah, man. So I had him install like a repulsor lift on the bottom of a divan, as well as a fog generation machine, and little speaker action to play some mood music. And as soon as I see Dena turn the corner down that corridor, I hit the panel I hacked and dim the lights, fog out, and the ground effects slowly start pulsing underneath the thing in a sensual manner. Boom, 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 boom. And there's Rahaul, naked on his hovering divan, floating towards Master Dena.
Is this like the hedonistic future bot from Futurama, the hedon bot? The one that walks with the legs?
No legs. This one's floating. It's Star Wars.
So it's not a droid like egging you on, like handing you the grapes to feed yourself. It's just a repulsor lift with the all done.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm controlling it with a teeny joystick with my one hand. I've got a rose in my mouth.
There you go.
Master Dena, finally, we're alone. And I will attempt to persuade her.
All right.
to make Rahaul love.
Sorry, did you open the door to her room?
24.
Did you open the door?
Did I open the door?
Did you get in the room? Yeah. Or are you in the hallway?
No. I dimmed the lights. I was coming down. Oh, yes. So yeah, I'm coming down the corridor into her quarters. Master Dena, finally we're alone. You know, strobes, mood music,
Okay.
fog.
Yeah.
Mixed, with a little bit of like essential oils mixed in it to give it
Bubbles.
not accenting. Yeah, bubbles too. Good call, Merrick. What would I do without you, buddy?
Hey, boss. What can I say?
Would you like to use a force point?
Yeah, sure, why not? You only try to seduce a Jedi once.
There's a lot of
Let's do
depth
it.
in that
Six.
statement.
Yeah! 6!
Oh my god.
Pushes it up to the 30.
I was gonna go like you'll get 125 and not good enough, and I'm looking at sample DCs, right? Very easy 0, easy 5, medium 10, tough 15, challenging 20, formidable 25, heroic 30.
Boom.
So she's like,
Hey, baby, how you doing?
one last ditch effort to resist before she caves. I'm tired and I have a headache.
I bet you say that to all the boys.
Yeah. She kind of shrugs and opens the door.
At this point, Rahal's getting frustrated.
Hmm.
God, this dame's a tough egg to crack.
Well,
And then,
did you lead
he
her into
looks
the room?
down at himself on a divan, floating with the steam and the bubbles and the berry white. Ooh, yeah.
No,
Just on loop. Just on loop.
I'm saying 30 is good enough, barely, but good enough. So one last,
Oh, she's going for it, eh?
I'm saying her mouth says no, but her eyes say yes because she's just too tired and maybe it's a get it over with kind of thing, you know.
Trust me, her mouth ain't going to be saying nothing in a few minutes. Booyah!
She opens the door to the room and you float in. And we're not going to talk about what may or may not happen with this borderline because as a master Jedi, she's very resistant to such things. But I will fast forward to later. Because whether
Okay.
things happen or not, like you said, that this regret wagon, this what am I doing kind of thing, is in you now. Okay? And Poser, seeking out Master Dena, sensing her in her quarters, but you're on the other side of the ship, and by the time you get down there, oh, she's cloaked up again, she's hiding, but you're pretty sure last time you sensed her was in the room. You open the door to her room, and there's Rahaul in all his splendor. With a moist towelette, covering certain bits, but plucking at the rose, looking very doubtful and shaking his head. And repeating to himself,
My God.
What have I sunk to?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Poser, I've tried everything. Everything. And I'm not even kidding. Like, everything. Smell my fingers.
No, and I am aware. I think you need to understand the term give up. And
I think at this
no.
point I am. But hey, you're my pal. You'll teach me. All I'm trying to figure out is how to hide. That's all I want to do. You was a master at it. I had no idea you was you. Come on, buddy. Do me a solid. I'll put you back on the payroll.
That has no incentive for me. And while yes, I could teach you, it would be directly defying my master. And it's going to do a lot more harm than good to do that.
Yeah, you're right. I was stupid to ask you that.
Look. There isn't just the Jedi and the Sith way. There are others who are attuned to the Force and can cloak.
Do tell.
Remember back on Felucia when I disappeared off with the chieftain of that
Oh, yeah.
Felucian village?
We was looking for you for days.
He and the rest of them are very attuned with the Force. They're natural Force creatures.
I
don't-
thought they made the back of my neck itch.
They don't abide by Jedi traditions or, other ways. They're more natural and in tune with the Force in that sense.
So what are you
He-
saying here? You think that shaman could teach me what I want to know?
He could teach you. Absolutely. Whether you want to know it or not, but you aren't going to have much of an option if you do choose to learn from him.
That's good enough for me. Thanks, kid. I owe you one. It hits the joystick on his floating divan and speeds out there Jetson style.
Yeah. You down the hallway hear screams of like frightened cadets and ends. Oh my god! What? Because his room is like 3 decks away, man. It's a long road. You know what I'm saying?
Hall does not care. In fact, he's moving so fast it's flapping in the wind.
A few days later, the ship has been completed, and the shot pans out a wide shot of Resurgence as Merrick the Mercenary, eager to test his new battle armor, Rahaul Oberus, eager to find a master, TP, and possibly a few others, but not Poser, staying behind with his master. The Arcalong departs and sets course, and then you see it suddenly jump off into hyperspace, headed for Felucia. Now, we've done Felucia, so I'll tell you a few things. First of all, okay, they leveled the garrison. They pulled out, the Austidius pulled whatever resources, like after running around, pulled whatever resources, like, the walker and everything. But not before they spent weeks trampling forest. It looks like walkers and things were brought in, like the battalion on the Austidius was landed, and they hunted and they wrecked, and you guys find far less life signs in miles of radius around the actual garrison point. It also looks like somebody bombarded a lot of area from orbit. Just freaking nuked a whole bunch of the planet's surface. So it's
Wow.
not easy for you to
Them
find.
Imperials is dicks.
It's not easier for you to find the master. But in the end, the master does find you. And we'll see you next time.